Come.
High Lord, forgive me for disturbing your rehabilitation, but Blade Master Saran wanted me to make certain you have everything you require.
I am well taken care of. The gene forges are doing their works quite well. It won't be long until my arm is fully restored.
Truly, these machines are the work of gods. Pardon me, Holiness. I must return to my duties.
A moment. You are Ayit Sevi, are you not? The one who freed Sally Neon from imprisonment on this very ship.
Indeed, High Lord. I aided him in rallying the faithful against the false prophet Umdama. We were able to seize control of it and made a holy vow to dethrone the Pretender, to restore the Covenant to its purity. But now, Sally Neon is dead. May his name be spoken with reverence by our lords in their heavens, and echo in the spaces below, through the Hall of Eternity. And with it, his dreams died with him.
Nonsense. He has been blessed as a holy martyr. You should rejoice, for he is now with the Forerunners. His death is unfortunate, yes, but the restoration of the Covenant is nigh upon us.
Forgive me, High Lord, but how do you know for certainty? Many others have spoken the same. Mergval, Jewel Umdama, Salih. And now Fiat echoes their names in the hall.
Because none of them have had the patience of ages. None have lived as long as I have. I was blessed to witness our Covenant at its birth, watched it expand and flourish, and saw its utter ruin. Yet throughout its long dominion, we have guided its path through the ages, and we shall bring about its rebirth.
We?
Yes, we. I see the doubt in your eyes. I hear the uncertainty in your voice. You believe that your leader had died for nothing. Allow me to dispel your fears. It is time you learn of the cause Sally Neon died for. It is time you learn of the Order of Restoration. You see, the Order of Restoration is an old and ancient lineage, one that long predates the Covenant itself. It was founded at the conclusion of the War of Wills, the bloody schism between the Sentium Stoics and Reformists. When the latter emerged as the victors, they fled our most sacred homeworld of Janjur-Kom, with the conflict's greatest prize, the mighty Forerunner Dreadnought itself. They laughed at the Stoics' bitter signals that the gods would surely damn them for their theft. Yet, there were those among the Reformists who wept in leaving our homeworld behind. They dreamt of restoring our most ancient of traditions in memory of the homeworld they abandoned. They convened in the shadows, plotting of the day where they would restore the old ways of Janjur-Kom. And thus, the Order of Restoration was born. Since its founding, our guiding hand has directed our leaders and prophets through the ages, even at the dawn of the Covenant Empire. I know. I was there. Since the day Breaking Shadow forged his truce with Pelisar the Strident, we worked meticulously pulling the Covenant strings, governing the purposes of the High Council, and even exploiting many prophets through countless divinatory maneuverings. All this in the name of restoring the traditions of our homeworld, even after its destruction centuries later. The gods had willed that I should be the one to guide the flock, and with their gracious gift of long vitality, I did just that. For thousands of years, I silently operated our movements from within the hallowed corridors of the old Forerunner dreadnought, moored at the center of High Charity. But all this would change in the final days of the War of Annihilation. In the gruesome aftermath of the Great Schism, our covenant was torn asunder, our most holy capital consumed by the endless hunger of the parasite, and Ord Casto, the prophet of truth, was slain at the hands of the Arbiter. Thus ended an empire that had once held dominion over 1,000 stars. The Sanchium, beings long venerated as the voices of the gods, were driven into exile. In this chaos, the Order of Restoration found a new purpose: to restore the glory that was the Covenant. To that end, I spent cycles consolidating whatever remained of the Sanchium's influence into the Order of Restoration, carefully making preparations for the Covenant to rise again. And there were many among the faithful who heeded our call. Jurul Hanai, Kigyar, Angoy, and those Senghili who remained loyal to the journey. Many self-styled warlords attempted to do the same, all under a score of different banners. Yet in this, they failed, for none had the strength and wisdom to make such a dream reality. None possessed the knowledge of the ways of the galaxy, and above all, none spoke for the gods. In the cycles that followed, I fortified myself on faithful Perseverance, one of the Covenant's old fortress worlds, known among the Senghili as Feldokra. There I waited, building up our strength from the shadows, while the non-believers were distracted by their own quarrels. But it was during this time that some of my allies, the former Minister of Preparation and his prelate, took it upon themselves to take the revenge upon the Senghili, using a prototype halo ring as the instrument of their wrath. But that mission ended in failure when the prelate turned against Boroanim and destroyed the ring, himself and the minister. Their carelessness had revealed our presence to our enemies, chief among which the swords of Senghilios, a vile lot of blasphemers sworn to Thelvadam, the very heretic who killed the prophet of truth. They have hounded us ever since, imprisoning our most devoted prophets for their dissolute courts. Among their more persistent warriors is the notorious Artas Vadum, the half-jaw. His vessel, the Shadow of Intent, has been pursuing us from one end of the galaxy to another. Not long ago, they destroyed one of our shell-tore pattern stormcutters, Vigilance with Piety, and claimed the life of her steward, our former Minister of Abnegation, Kefodin. When my time on faithful Perseverance came to an end, I had the means to openly assault one of our opponents and seize their strongholds. But I chose a different course: solitude. Better that our enemies remain in the dark until everything was in order. The gods demanded patience, and I obeyed. I relocated myself to Scala, a lawless human planet known to them as Venetia. On that world, all those under my command were permitted to come and go as they pleased. Those humans who were suspicious were easily bought, while we amassed starships and weapons on outer worlds. We were able to coordinate everything right under the nose of our greatest enemy. As we prepared, the humans and the swords of Senghilios remained blind to what was happening beneath their notice. And in their blindness, they allowed a human artificial construct to assume the mantle of the Holy Forerunners. The self-called Archon, known as Cortana. She harnessed the power of the gods and achieved unfettered access to all they once possessed. Machines of war, shield worlds, weapons capable of unparalleled destruction, even one of the sacred rings. And in so doing, she claimed dominion over much of the galaxy. Yet the ascension of this false god bore unexpected fruit for us, for it brought the scattered remnants of the faithful together under the light of our purposes. Sally Neon was one such. He rose in rebellion against the false prophet Jul Mdama, yet foolishly laid claim to the same mantle as well, a mantle which rightly belongs to the Sanchium. But when chastised by a universe in which a human AI can pose a god, he understood the consequences of his blunder. He repented his sins and pledged himself and his forces to the Order of Restoration. And together, a plan was made. Some time ago, I discovered how the AI gained mastery over the holy instruments of the Forerunners. The power she wielded came from a place the gods called the Domain, an ancient and invisible dimension. In order to reach it, the Forerunners created a gateway for the most worthy of their chosen. It is known as the Lithos. This was how the Archon stole what rightly belonged to the Covenant. And through meticulous study of an ancient Forerunner tablet, I discovered the precise coordinates of a Lithos, one hidden on Gado, a world the humans call Boundary. It was my intention to remove her from her stolen throne, and with the bountiful tools of the gods at our disposal, the Covenant in all its glory would be restored. But the Domain is a universe of its own, and one that cannot abide physical forms. It can only be traversed by incorporeal alone. Only the essence of a being can dwell there. I had hoped to sacrifice my body to ascend into divinity, to possess the very power of the Forerunners themselves. Yet even as we made preparations, the spy we had embedded within Shadow of Intent revealed that a handful of humans in Sanghili were plotting to infiltrate the Lithos in order to take the same power from the AI. That could not be permitted. And so, I turned to one whom I once held dear, Severin, the last son of Tartarus. I took him in during his earliest time within the Covenant, even as his father sought to claim the chieftainship of all Jurl-Hanai. I instructed him in the ways of the gods, and in time, he became a great warrior, one molded in my image. He survived the bloody aftermath of his father's demise by fortifying himself on Wariel, one of Doisak's 3 moons. His brothers were less fortunate. For years, Severin built up his clan, the vanguard of Zaladon, from allies and rivals alike. Then, through blood ties, he found a place for himself within the Banished, swiftly ascending to the mantle of War Chief. In time, he was entrusted with all the Banished fleets, while Atriox was engaged with his own mission to dethrone the Archon. He was perfectly placed to keep our enemies distracted, with the full might of the Banished behind him. And distract them he did. He even escorted me to safety when the infidels discovered our operations on Scala, with the assistance of Sally Neon's forces. They were instrumental in keeping the humans and swords at bay, while our enemies were delivering the final key of our ascension. In order to access the Lithos, to bypass the AI's defenses, a human was needed. A child, in fact. Sally Neon's records, unearthed from the glass of Sovalanu, the human fortress world known to them as Reach, revealed that there was one being who was made in the image of the Archon, a surviving clone of the AI's creator. She alone was the key to the domain. If we had her, we would have all that the Archon possessed. Truly, it had been an omen from the gods. In this young human girl was the spark that would have reunited the Covenant's cleansing flame. The humans had the same notion as well and were in pursuit of her. Once they apprehended this young female, they would move to take the Lithos. But they lacked the ability to interpret the prophecies and remained ignorant on its location. When they eventually learned it was on Gado, it had only been in accordance to my design. While our enemies were bringing the key to us, Severin led the banished fleets as they besieged the human homeworld, in payment for a loss of their own world at the Archon's hands. They laid waste to their pitiful home fleet until the AI's guardians intervened. Before they could destroy both fleets, they were suddenly deactivated. As it happened, Cortana had been destroyed by an invisible force. The apparent destruction of the AI had been an unexpected blessing. Without her guarding entry to the domain, there was no need for delay. Certainly the humans would not. The time had finally come for the Covenant's renewal. Through my guidance, the banished left Earth well behind them and invaded Gado. They occupied the colony's capital of Tyran and were in the midst of fully uncovering the Lithos when the humans arrived. Yet even as the unbelievers fought one another, another human element was bringing the key to us, beyond the outskirts of the city. Severin and his warriors scoured the region for the clone, but more and more humans came. Their presence was a risk I could not afford, so I summoned Sally Neon's Covenant forces to bolster Severin's. They held off the humans and increased their search for our quarry. But Severin, my son, had lost sight of the path that laid before us and turned against me. He and his banished attacked me, Neon and his faithful Covenant warriors. He even took my arm. And in all that chaos, the humans committed the ultimate sacrilege and destroyed the Lithos. In the aftermath of its destruction, I was helpless to Severin's relentless onslaught. It was he who slew Sally Neon, taking off his head with a savage thrust. I would have perished as well had it not been for the timely intervention of Volsaran, the very spy embedded within Shadow of Intense crew, the very one who alerted me of the interlopers on Scala, the very one who saved me from the swords of St. Helios' assassins, the very one who protected me from Severin. Through his valiant efforts in defeating the traitor, we left that accursed world behind. It pains me that Severin has strayed so far from the path. I taught and trained him in the ways of the Covenant since he was but a pup on High Charity. I labored to make him what he had become. He was my proudest creation. Had it not been for me, he would long ago have been the victim of Tartarus' failed legacy and killed like the rest of his brothers. But at the gateway of glory, he faltered, just as his father did. I suppose I am to blame. I allowed him to be associated with those savages, those banished. They corrupted his soul with their blasphemous lies. He was practically a son to me, but when the time of divine ascension comes, he shall be left behind with the rest of the unbelievers. With the loss of the Lithos, we are now forced to achieve our goals elsewhere on another world, a world that contains the heart of our desires, a world that holds many ancient secrets within, reaching back to a time when my own kind were possessed of great youth and vitality. As to where we are going, I shall reveal all that I know in due time. Know this: what we will find shall usher in a new age of glory for the Sanchium, for the Sanghili, for all species in the universe that remain loyal to us. When the flame of the Covenant rises from the ashes once more, this time never again to be extinguished, it shall be through your noble efforts. You and your brothers shall be venerated by generations yet unborn. Soon, the Order of Restoration will be at last fulfilled, and the Covenant shall be reborn.